Welcome to the Top Advisor Marketing Podcast brought to you by ProudMouth. I'm your host, Matt Halloran. Being your own loud is not new to marketing, but the mindset, strategies, and resources to help you get there are evolving faster than this industry is keeping up. It is time to find a new perspective on what works why and how to move your business forward. Listen as I interview guests to help you learn from them how to be your own loud. Let's get to the show. Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. Today we're going to get back to some basics here. And one of the biggest things that we used to do, and mostly Kirk used to do in the past, is really help people with their brands. And what we're finding out more and more as we dive into this next level of what ProudMouth is creating an appropriate brand so that you can be your own loud is one of the most powerful things that you can do. And so Kirk and I are going to dive into the branding aspect of how you can use that brand to rise above the noise and be your own loud. Is that a good intro there, Kirk?
Yeah, excellent intro.
All right.
I'm ready to go.
We're on the right.
I wanted to start with by sharing everybody that little story this morning where somebody in our team said, "Hey, it's Friday. Let me know what spice you are.
Yeah.
And why you're that spice." And what did you choose?
I choose crushed red pepper because I'm a little bit spicy, but I absolutely love what you wrote about Chipotle, right? But the funny thing is how many people responded, right? I mean, this is exactly the sort of engagement that we're looking for in our organization.
I'm thinking this should be a post on social to get people going. So I'll talk to Jessica today and see if she wants to do something like that. I know she's pretty strapped with how much stuff we just been thrown at her lately.
Yeah.
As our marketing director. Anyway, that's kind of a neat point about social media is sometimes thinking about things that engage people and are a little bit fun, lighthearted, but build a purpose back into it. And that's a good segue. I didn't mean that to happen, but
well done, dude.
Yeah, man, I'm getting better at this crap. Anyway. Okay. So influence. So you're listening to this podcast. It's about marketing for financial advisors. Why influence? We've talked about it many times. We want to help people to be your own loud. We want to help you be your own loud. What does that mean? Why? Why should you care? This is content marketing. Content marketing is the only marketing left.
I've heard you say that just a few times. Yeah.
Consumers want to know who you are just as much and that you're likable or they can identify with you just as much and that you care about them just as much as they know what you do and how you do it. People work with people they feel connected to or companies they feel connected to. And if you haven't been paying attention to cult brands over the last 40 years, they're the perfect example.
Yeah.
How do you connect people to what you do? Now, if you're in the financial service, you're thinking nobody gives a crap about that fluffy stuff. Oh boy, do they ever. Because you talk about, this industry talks about connecting with people once they're in the office.
So Kirk's saying that, the fluffy stuff is not necessarily what people want to do or people want to hear, but that's not true. The fluffy stuff is really the most important. And here's why. We're going to dive into this a little bit more deeply with the key points of the brand. They already presuppose that you know what you're doing, right? If they're going to subscribe to a financial services podcast, they're going to pretty much think, oh my gosh, this lady really knows what she's talking about. I'd like to get to feel who she is and what makes her unique and different and how she interacts with her clients. That fluffy stuff is 50%, if not more, of what you should be putting in your content.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to talk about yourself all the time, but you just need to they need to understand who you are. You don't need to get into big controversial topics if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Some people actually do really well in that. And we're seeing a lot of that in the world right now, standing up and stand out and owning the audience that likes you and making a lot of enemies at the same time. Maybe not enemies, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Ruffling some feathers. Yep. But you have a point here that I want you to elaborate on, which is people want to be educated first, not sold to. Now, this is a premise of who we are at ProudMouth, but I've heard you say that before. Why is that so important, you think?
How does anybody really know that you can solve anything for them, that they're going to enjoy working with them, that you actually care about them, that you understand them, all these things? These things are all running through and they can all be solved now. They used to not be solved until you sat in front of somebody and figured this all out or worked with somebody. But people know now that I don't want to make that mistake. I don't want to hire somebody to do this and have it not work out or have regrets. And you know what? I have control now because I can go on the internet and figure these people out.
Yeah.
And if you're not there, they're still taking those chances. They're going to have to, and more people don't want to. So you're not giving them a choice to work with you because you're not doing the right things to move that relationship along. We talk a lot about not having to sell, moving away from a business that talks to skeptics instead of one that talks to fans. This is how you create fans. This is how you avoid wasting your time talking to people where you're in sales mode all the time. And what kind of relationship starts with a sale? I mean, you got to work hard to build it over time. Why not have that come into your door in the first place?
Yeah, have you be ever present and omnipresent so that you can approach your fans and they can approach you at their convenience when they're comfortable, when they have the focus. You know, that's why telemarketing has gone downhill so exponentially, is because you're interrupting my day instead of allowing me to opt in to find out more about my car insurance, right? I think that that's powerful. And I love that you say that here, Kirk. You say people are everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know where they're going to be. So figure out where your audience are and spend the most time there and be present there, be engaged, right? If your audience are hanging out on Twitter and you push a bunch of content out, but you don't hang out there yourself, that's a problem, right? You got to be there. You know, we spend most of our time on LinkedIn and it works good for us. A little bit of time on Twitter for credibility more so than engagement. Pick where you're going to hang out and be really good at, be engaged, be present. So you want to be an influencer. We're giving you some ideas on why, how important content marketing is, what consumers are looking for. But before you create or push out your content and start trying to become that influencer, this is a big mistake everybody makes. And this is the purpose of our call today, is know first who you are, who you serve, and why you serve them. So you need to have a brand. You need to think about that. What am I putting out into the world? Am I putting out the right things to the right people for the right reasons? Will they understand that? Will they be able to quickly identify? Now, if your content, if you already know the content you want to push out to the niche audience that'll care most, that's self-branding, right? Like they're identifying with your content. They'll know, okay, this applies to me. Having said that, how do you articulate that in your packaging outside of your content? And you want to make sure that you have an anchor for your story so that you can always come back to it, right? That focus, always come back to that focus. And you remind them in your podcast or your blog or your videos, whatever you're doing, because that's brand continuity, right? Mm-hmm. So what I want to do, and I'm going to go through these and give you maybe a different perspective than other branding experts might give you as far as how to answer questions. I'm going to do it in a different way, is I guess what I'm saying. I'm not going to give you specific questions you might be asked in the branding process. I'm going to help you answer all the W's here, and one H: who, what, how, when, why, where. And I'd like you to pay attention. This will be very easy for you, unless you're driving or biking or cooking dinner, to jot these down, but they're pretty simple. I'll summarize them at the end. Okay. So the first one is who. There's two parts of who. One is who are you and who do you serve? Who are the people that you serve the best? The next one is what. I don't want to get in too much detail until I've gone through these, because they'll overlap and then I'll confuse the heck out of people. What do you do for people? What does your audience do? So can you be specific about what they do? Is there something that they do that makes them your niche audience? And that could be mistakes they make, or careers they have, or businesses they have, or things that or ways that they try to solve problems that are a mistake, whatever that is, figure it out for yourself. So what does your audience do? That's part 2. Step 3 is, what steps do they need to take on their terms to solve problems that they're having? So I'm telling you, this is a weird way to do this, because I just talked about a call to action. I talked about identifying your audience, and I talked about clarifying what you do. So it's a different way to think about this, but I think it may be really helpful for you. The next one is how. How do you solve the problems or the challenges that your audience face? How do you do it? how do they know that something needs to be solved? What questions are you going to ask? What things are you going to talk? What problems or challenges are you going to identify that your specific audience is going through that they know the something that needs to be solved? Because sometimes people don't know. You might not have thought of how important it is to have a brand for the type of influencer you want to be known or known as, seen as. But you've been listening to this podcast about influence, and now we're telling you step back because you need to have a brand and a message and a focus, something that like a magnet kind of focus to bring you back to all the time. So the next one is when. When should you be engaged to solve? So when should they know in the challenges that they're facing that they need to hire somebody like you to solve it, or when do they not need you? Okay. And then when, and this is kind of something, but when does it matter? When does the challenge that they're facing, when do they know that it's at a place where it actually needs to be solved? I think that might sound like it's the same thing, but so when does it matter to them? And maybe even when does it matter to you? Next one is why. Why do you want to solve this for people? This is kind of comes back to like your purpose. What's your why? What did you get into this? Why do you care about this audience? Why do you care about solving a certain problem? Is it a personal connection story? Somebody you know? There's going to be a story there. That story should be something that you refer to and tell and is clear to people. Okay. Don't hide that why. Why should they care? Why should they care about solving this? What are the outcomes they're going to face if they don't solve what you want to help them solve or overcome? Our last one is where. Where geographically do you serve people? If you can be clear about that, that's huge. One of our podcast guests has a podcast called Dear Rochester, Retire Well. Kind of obvious what's going on there. Rochester, New York. Where geographically do you serve people, and where can they learn more? So if somebody wants to learn more about what you do, we talked about earlier, what are the steps they take, but where do they actually go to find that? Okay, you got to be really clear.
Let's do this.
And where can you help them? Where can you serve them? But that was the first question. We just answered who, what, how, when, why, where. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, so Kirk, I'm going to answer these questions as ProudMouth here. I want to take just a minute to walk through, since we just went through a rebrand, really who we are and what we do. And then we're going to both talk about why we do it. But who we are and who do we serve? So we are two people in an organization who's been in financial services for many, many, many years. And that's really the core of who we are. Everything that we built with compliance in mind, which really laterally moves us into who do we serve. And we serve people who are in financial services. And that doesn't necessarily just mean financial advisors. That means other people who provide services to financial advisors, right? We work with money managers and people who offer products and services to financial advisors, accountants, CPAs, estate planning attorneys, everybody who's kind of in the world of what we know as financial services are our ideal clients. And then the next thing is, what do we do? Well, our whole goal here at ProudMouth is to free the world's experts from sales. And how do we do that? Well, we basically help you become ever present and omnipresent by creating customized content that is your thought leadership and posting it all over the place. We basically call it the rockstar approach, where you show up and we record you, you drop the mic, and then we do all of these other fantastic things. And now, Kirk, I want to turn it back to you, though, and I want to ask you personally, what is your why? Why do you get up every morning and work so hard to help people be freed from sales? What is your why?
My why is that I've seen way too many experts, in particular financial advisors, not be able to take the right steps to own the businesses that they wanted to and have the type of business that they always dreamed of. And in order to do that, they need to be able to market and build a bunch of fans around them and then work with people who love working with them. We see so many times advisors they focus on lead gen, so they're running around chasing people. They focus on too many audiences, so they're running around trying to add value to too many people, and they can't catch up and they can't stand out because they're just okay to everybody. And they can't find that balance because they're trying to do everything on their own. and they can't be consistent because they're trying to be a writer or they're trying to hire people who have these franken marketing plans. There's all kinds of reasons why we want to help. And we know, and we've seen the light, we know how to solve them. That's why we started doing podcasting, because it's the easiest way to get your expertise out there in a way that shows all kinds of personality and warmth and depth. It's easy to do and people can pull it off. You don't have to be a rock star, but we can make them seem like that when they do it. Having said that, not everybody's ready or can afford to be the kind of influencer that our services help push. So that's why we created the Academy. Yeah. Hey, you can learn to do this for yourself. You can take steps. You can take the right steps in the right order. You can access different experts to help you with things where you may have weak areas in your business. And you can move on a path or a continuum to get to a place where then you're going to be able to either have started your own influence and then leverage and take it to another level. So we've got all kinds of ways to do that. So that was the thing about Matt is he's coming up with these really short answers, and I do my thing. And
that was fantastic. And then the where part of this, right? So we're finding that a lot of our ideal clients right now, their where is not where it used to be. Their where, because of COVID and because of not being able to travel and not being able to see people, they've realized that they have actually a larger pool to fish in with their ideal clients because they're not geographically bound. But the most important where is where can they learn more? And Kirk touched on this right out of the gate. If your people live on Twitter, you need to live on Twitter. If they're on LinkedIn, you need to live on LinkedIn. And you always need to be just dropping little pieces of knowledge at where they can continue to learn more. That's how you engage them. We refer to this as opt-in marketing. I want somebody to want to know more from us. That's the whole goal of what we're doing here at ProudMouth.
So you can learn more on our podcast, and how you get to our podcast is going to proudmouth.com. So this is part of the where. If you want to talk about joining the Academy, that would be proudmouth.com/academy. That's the place where we direct everybody to. Our podcast lives on our website. You'll see it there. We have two. We have the Top Advisor Marketing Podcast, which is this one. And we have our other one, which is Be Your Own Loud. Be Your Own Loud is more about influencers, success stories, people that have created big influencers and the path that the things that they've done to do that. So we get all kinds of, and that's more people who are experts who either have started building influence or want to build influence. And the neat thing is that there's a lot of learning to be had from people who aren't just in financial services. So financial services people might want to be listening to that podcast as well. Know and share your purpose with people. They need to know that. You need to come back to be clear about what you do, be clear about who you serve and why they should care. Their terms, not yours, right? It's not just about words. It's about what you talk about. It's about the guests you bring on to your podcast. If you're doing a podcast that really show, you don't always have to talk about your expertise. You can bring other people and you can talk outside of it, your expertise. If your clients or your ideal audience have a certain life or things that are in their world, talk to people outside of your expertise who add value to your clients' lives or businesses. Make sense? Another really important one is tell stories. Tell stories about what other people are experiencing. This shows you worked and you understand your audience, helps them see that they're not alone, helps them see that you've got expertise and experience that they need, and shows others that in their position have hired, the other people are feeling what they're feeling, have hired people like you and others to move them forward. Like there's a solution and there's a path to that solution. And the last thing, Matt, is just, I think we've already gone over it, but I'll let you take it.
Well, I want to add just to that. One of the great things about storytelling is when people see themselves in the stories that you tell, right? This is that sort of self-identification, once again, opt-in. If you're telling a story and I think to myself, oh my God, that's me, I'm probably going to be more interested in what you have to say. And it's also a great way to pre-qualify people and to filter through the looky-loos and the plate lickers and stuff that we experience in our industry all the time. It's a great way to do that. When you say in your story as a financial advisor, hey, I work with people who are, executives at Verizon. If you are not an executive at Verizon, then I'm probably not the right person for you. And here's why. Bam, 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 bam. And then you tell a story. Let me tell you about an ideal client. That's a really powerful way. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I got a great story to tell about that. We have an advisor that I've been working with for a couple of years now. His wife has done a lot of coaching and training with employees at a big hotel. I'm not going to name the hotel, and executives there. What he would do is when certain clients she would refer them to her husband who does the financial planning. And it was kind of a good little gig. It was kind of small, but they were happy and it was easy because everybody that talked to him was ready to kind of work with him because of the introduction and what they knew and some of the educational stuff that he had added to her program. And it worked out really well. Because they'd identified this audience when COVID hit, there were a lot of layoffs and there was a lot of shuffling. They had a windfall of executives. They were there. They were the expert. They were ready. And they just quadrupled their business in a year because they had identified and everybody knew, and it was so obvious to work with them, and they had it all set up. Sometimes we don't. That's why we like to talk about momentum, because you don't always know when it's going to flow over, right? But if you're always doing the right things, you're in a position to have that kind of success. They were already doing well with that niche. They were building and growing as we started helping them, and they'd done some good things on their own. But when their opportunity came, they were ready, and it's just been an unbelievable experience for them. We're so happy for them. You have to be ready like that too. So that's just kind of a cool story. I thought everybody would appreciate.
I love that story, and we have a couple of other stories. One has to do with actually Harley Davidson. Another one that we have to do with a health system.
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about those stories, by the way, you guys can just listen to previous podcasts. You got something else to add before I wrap?
Yeah. By the way, I'm not trying to say that podcasting working in us, we're going to 4x your practice. I'm not implying that. I'm implying that they had done the right things and had a ton of credibility when the opportunity came. It was an easy win for them.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You can definitely build new relationships just through a podcast. There's going to be some people that listen to this now, or in a year, they're going to listen to this and they're going to come back and say, I need to work with ProudMouth, right? I'm going to go to the academy, or I'm going to call them. I'm going to start listening to their podcast even more. But for they were ready when it came. That's what you have to do. That's why momentum and credibility are so important, because when the opportunity comes, you're ready to absolutely nail it. If you haven't figured that out and the opportunity comes because it just landed in your lap, but you weren't ready, are you going to be able to fall? Are you going to get what you ought to out of it? Right. And that's what great marketing does, right? And influences when things happen, you're ready for them and you're the obvious choice and people are already a fan of you. If you're not, you're rolling the dice and you're more likely to not get that.
Right.
Maybe somebody else is doing what you weren't doing and they're going to get that from you.
Well, we all hope that some amazing opportunity lands in everybody's lap. But if you don't feel like you're prepared to grow that way or be looked at as that expert, we've got a couple of solutions for you real quick as I wrap up today's podcast. Number one, if you have not subscribed to the podcast, do. If you know somebody who needs to hear the podcast, share it. Number two, go to proudmouth.com/academy. We'll make sure that's in the show notes, because there's a free version here where anybody can sign up for it and find out some really amazing.
Forget the free version. Jump right into the enthusiast.
Well, yeah. Okay. I was working up to that, dude. Come on, man. I'm trying to get
go where everybody needs to go, or where the most value is.
Right. So the most value is absolutely so 99.
Do not listen to Matt. This guy does not know what he's talking about. Why would you go somewhere and spend $0 when you can, for 99, you can get everything?
Well, tell what everything is though. Go ahead. I'll throw this back on you. I was about to get there, but you jumped the gun. Tell them what they get it for 99.
Well, that's where all the courses are. That's also where you can get office hours. So you can get on. We do that a couple of times a week, and you can have, when you get stuck, you can ask us questions. We'll have somebody on there who can answer them. If they can't, they'll find answers for you,
and then we'll get back.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we don't do anything for you, but we can definitely guide you and answer questions and talk about all kinds of cool stuff. And you'll have questions. And those questions we'll use to create better content.
That's right.
Right.
That's my favorite part about the office hours, dude. Like, that makes me so happy when we get hundreds of people in there saying, hey, teach me this, teach me this, teach me this. And then we're like, oh my God, we have like 10 new courses to create. Now, I'm going to close this out by saying one last thing. And here it is. Are you tired of being the best kept secret in your area? Do you want to be known for your expertise and be known as that person who specializes in working with that group of people? If you answered yes to either of those, please go to proudmouth.com/academy. Sign up for the $99 a month academy. Join our office hours. Dive in, because you don't have to do this alone. There are people who want to help and love to help you. It's why we get up in the morning. We've made a lot of the mistakes, and the best part about it is Kirk and I have worked with so many other people who have made so many mistakes that we're going to help you not make those same missteps and mistakes, because we want you to have the most successful life and the most successful practice. All right, Kirk, thanks for your brain today, brother.
Leverage your time to get to the destination as quickly and as wonderfully as you can. Wonderfully as in the most efficiently and the most effectively. And leverage us any way you can. We're already trying to give you as many options as possible. Yeah. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
We are definitely here to help. And for everybody here at ProudMouth, we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon. Thanks for listening to the Top Advisor Marketing Podcast, brought to you by ProudMouth. If you want to learn more about how you can be your own loud, visit our website, read our blog posts, attend our educational webinars, and sign up for our new Influence Accelerator Academy, where you too can learn how to truly be an influencer in your space. Have a wonderful day.